Oh, Zanki Zero. How do I even begin? First, let's talk about the premise. Zanki Zero is set in a post-apocalyptic world, and 8 people mysteriously find themselves trapped on an island. And these people find out that they're not just people, that they're human clones. And don't worry, this isn't a spoiler, it's revealed in the trailers. And of course, the goal of the game is to find out why you're on the island, why you became clones, and why humanity perished and stuff like that. The things you do in the game are given out in the form of missions by crazy, funny characters that you wish would just shut up. The important missions tell you to go into, like, abandoned ruins that have ferocious enemies like goats, pigs, monkeys, and zombies. So that's the basic premise and story of the game. Without giving too much away, it's basically a zombie survival crafting game, to put it into layman terms. Now, let's move on to gameplay. The battle system basically boils down to basic attacks and charge attacks. And the only one that matters is charge attacks because it does the most damage and it can break the enemy's parts. That's basically it. You just hold the square button, aim for an enemy part to disable them, and just whack them until they die. And you're basically going to be doing this throughout the whole game. It doesn't change whatsoever. Even up to the final boss, you do the same thing. And believe me, it gets annoying. It really gets annoying. Oh, and I forgot to mention that the battle system is in real time, so you'll have to constantly dance around the enemy while they move around and try to attack you. Does that sound like fun? Because believe me, it isn't. Anyways, that's about it for the battle system without going into all the minor annoyances, which make it very not fun to play. Now, let's move on to the story. The story of the game basically revolves around the characters' situation they're in and their backstories surrounding them. As you go throughout the dungeons, you'll be force-fed the characters' backstories little by little. All the characters represent the 7 deadly sins, and their backstories reflect it somewhat. Personally, I didn't see their sins play out the way I thought they would in their backstory. Everything just felt forced, making you want to feel sorry for the characters. And I don't think any of the characters' backstories were handled pretty well. And none of the characters seem to, change after their backstories are revealed, even though they're, overcoming some very big problems somehow. And their backstories are pretty horrible. There's 3 of them which deal with sexual abuse. And some that are that have child trauma. The worst things that someone could go through, they just put them in their backstories. And it's very cringy. You'll be like, yikes. Anyways, that's about it for the characters' backstories. So now I'll move on to the situation that the characters are in. You don't really get any idea as to why everyone is stranded on an island being forced to see their backstories. Until the last few chapters where the whole story is just explained to you in info dumps in the most long-winded way possible. Basically, one of the members was mad at everyone else, and he forced them to go through their past as punishment, even though it didn't really seem like punishment because he helped them out through it. But then later we find out that there was another mastermind who was just using the other guy for his own mad scientist tricks. Basically, when everything gets revealed, it isn't satisfying, and it's pretty boring and uninteresting. I mean, I'll just say it right now, it's got to do with nanomachines. How lame is that? So yeah, you go through some pretty bad gameplay and gross backstories just for a mediocre story with reveals that aren't very shocking. I mean, some of them are shocking, but it just feels forced. You're supposed to feel bad, they're forcing you to be sad about it. I think it's just the way the presentation is handled. It doesn't look very good. And the way all the dungeons look all the same for all the floors. When you're in a floor, everything just looks the same. Nothing feels rewarding in this game. There are boss fights, and actually the first boss fight is actually a fight against one of the character's bosses, which is kind of funny, but eh. Like, they're a little bit challenging, but you can abuse it. Like, once you know their moves, they're basically dodgeable because they, like, telegraph their moves. And you can just dodge out of the way and just hit them again. And there's also this system called Shigabane. So whenever a character dies, whatever they died to will create a Shigabane when they come back to life. And a Shigabane, like, decreases the damage from what you died to. So let's say you died to a boss's attack. You can just go back home, revive the character, and fight the boss again. And that attack from the boss will be like half damage. So you can just abuse the system like that. Like, just get killed by the boss, go back home, and fight the boss again. And there's no penalty for it. Like, you can just die how many times you want. The game even encourages you to die as much as you want. And there isn't very much of a penalty for dying, because you rack up points from killing enemies, which you use to revive. So dying is like basically irrelevant. Anyways, I'll try to keep this short because I don't want to spend more effort on this game than I already did. Basically, this game is not worth full price. Like, there's more bad things in this game than there are good. I mean, there's a little bit of fun to be had. Like, dungeon exploring is kind of fun because it's like, it feels a little bit rewarding getting through all the crap. But I wouldn't put myself through it once more. I wouldn't wish it on anyone else. And there's like one good boss fight which has like an entire stage where you like play hide and seek with like two bosses, one that hides and one that attacks you, which was kind of cool. But there's also some bad things about the game. Like, there's this hotel which all your characters sleep in, and if you have like two characters sleep together, they can like get a bonus attack power and whatnot. But what can also happen is they'll like get in a relationship, and sometimes you'll get like an erotic scene, and you can accidentally get this. I accidentally had to run into it, but if one of the characters is a child, they'll like show an erotic scene, as a child. They'll show a child in a sexualized position if they're in a child form when they come back to life, which I think is just wrong. Like, it shouldn't be in a game like this. Like, it automatically grosses me out that they're sexualizing children and you can accidentally run into it. Like you get bonuses for making people sleep together, but if they're a child, you can see a scene with them. And I just think that's pretty freaking horrible. I even had to get into an argument with one of my fans that said that it's optional and the game shouldn't be judged because of that, and I just had to block them because that's such a stupid statement. Like, that alone makes me want to give the game 0 stars. 0 stars out of 5. Like, I just think it's terrible. Anyways, if you're a fan of dungeon crawlers, you might not like it because it's real time, and dungeon crawlers are about like being focused and strategy, and this one is just hold square to win. And if you like VNs, visual novels, you might not like this either because it's pretty freaking generic and doesn't do anything special like I thought it would. Like, it's just some mad scientist mastermind with an experiment who went wrong, and then he's trying to like conquer the world with new humans or whatnot. It's really bad. Like, I can't even summarize it. It's just so bad. Anyways, I think that's about all I can say. I do not recommend this for mostly anyone who likes good games. If you don't mind bad games, then I recommend it if you like bad games. And if you like kusoge and stuff like that, and just see how bad it gets, like, you you'll like it to see. If you like really bad games, yeah. I mean, there's a few people. I know there's people who do like bad games, so you'll have a field day with this. Anyways, that's my thoughts on Zanki Zero, and I think I'm pretty much done with Spike Chunsoft since they don't have Uchikoshi or Kodaka anymore, and they're pretty much the ones who are the best at their job in Spike Chunsoft. So that's pretty much it. Bye.